This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Hello, sweetie. How are you? This is Isabel, and I am your host for the Time to Care the Caregivers podcast. I am thrilled to have you here today, and today I'm going to be talking about sharing responsibilities when being a caregiver. So, let's get started. This week, I had the opportunity to be in contact with a lot of people, with a lot of caregivers. And one of the things that these caregivers shared with me was the lack of support from their siblings and a lack of support from anybody else for that matter, and how they wanted to regain their life. And this post really stuck with me. It read, "I want my life back." So let's dig deeper into what happens. According to statistics, 70% of caregivers have complete responsibility of the caregiving process. That is huge. In an ideal world, the responsibilities of caregiving a loved one, a parent, a spouse, would be divided among several, but that doesn't happen. And I want to dig deeper about why this doesn't happen. One of the reasons of why this doesn't happen, it's not because one person is better suited for that, or because the others can't help, or because none of that. One of the main reasons why one person becomes the only caregiver is because we're control freaks. And I am a recovering control freak. I spent several sessions in therapy dealing with my inability to lose control over things. The truth is, it's really hard to lose control, and it's really hard to let others do things very different as how we would do things. What happens is that we're doing things our way, and the way we see it, it is the right way because we don't accept it could be other ways of, so we pull help away from us. Another reason why we don't get any help when being a caregiver is because others don't know what we need. And once again, that's totally our fault because most people are afraid of asking for help. And that has to do a lot with the perception, like our own brain's perception, that if we ask for help, we're going to be weak. So we don't ask for help so others won't perceive us as weak. These two facts make a really bad combination. And it just pulls us into being the sole caregivers and the only caregivers. So what do you do to avoid these kinds of things? Well, I'm going to tell you what to do. The first thing is to have a very clear plan. And you're not going to have that plan until you're able to talk with a doctor, with your loved one's doctor. This might sound really silly, but it's not. Not everybody has the same conditions. Not all of us are taking care of the same ailments, and even if it's the same disease, it can develop in very different ways. So the first thing is, once again, talk to the physician, your doctor, your parents' doctor, and understand what needs to be done, and understand what is the worst case scenario for that disease. Understand how long you can expect to take care of this condition. Understand what are the requirements, what's going to happen. If you're dealing with Alzheimer's disease, understand how that disease is going to develop. Understand what are going to be the needs in the near and medium future, because understanding this will allow you to plan ahead, and because knowing this will help you plan for the future. And planning for the future is going to allow you to make decisions without involving highs and ups in feelings. If you're feeling very stressed, if you're feeling very sad, very nervous, very angry, those decisions are not going to be the wisest. So if you talk with your doctor and you know what to expect in X amount of time, then you can start researching options. And when you research these options, you're able to build a plan, and you're able to build your strategy, and you're able to build activities that each one of you need to do. So some of us, like me, we have siblings and we can ask for help from them. Some others are single kids, so that's harder for them to find help. But still, if you are a single child, part of your options and part of the resources that you need to be looking for is for someone to help you with this role of caregiving. And if you have siblings, then you need to invite them over and you need to have a very honest conversation with them about the future. So once you invite your siblings or whoever else is going to be helping you with the caregiving process, what are some things that you need to talk about? So once you invite everyone over for this conversation, you need to delegate activities. And you need to be very clear and very specific about what you're asking them to do. First of all, you need to tell them what to do, and you need to be specific about it. If you need help doing doctor's appointments, then be very specific, deliver all the information they will need, and just trust they will do it. And build boundaries about what's going to happen if they don't do what you ask them to do. One of the ways in which I have noticed that people usually react in a very positive way is when money is asked from them. Another thing to remember when you're delegating responsibilities is that you need to let things go, and you need to trust whoever you're asking help from, that they're going to do the right thing. Stop being a control freak. That's not going to serve you or anybody else for that matter. Just let them do the things the way they know how to do them, and trust that they will do them correctly. And that's another reason why you need a plan, because then you can start delegating things based on each person's abilities and interests and strengths. That's a good way to start delegating. During this week, I heard this person talk about her mother, and she was saying that she was taking care of her granny, And as the sole caregiver, she talked with her siblings and she told them, I'm getting really tired of this situation. So you either jump in and help me, or you're gonna start to pay me for the labor that I'm doing for mom. So think about this transaction. If our parents are staying in an assisted living facility, we're paying someone to do that job. So the first thing is that someone is paying you for that job as well, because you're putting your life on hold. And you might want to consider that as a way of building boundaries and building your strategy. And finally, you need to find the courage to ask for help. As I mentioned earlier, it is really hard to ask for help because we're giving away the power. But by not giving away the power, we're losing our power to live our lives how we want it to be. We are losing the power to live our lives how we wish to live them. So it is very important that you find the courage. One of the ways of doing so is by visualizing how you want it to be. Visualize yourself being strong, being powerful, and being able to divide the tasks and activities and responsibilities among all the involved people. Visualize yourself as having this conversation and being successful after the conversation ends. And just remember that by asking for help, this allows you to be honest with yourself, because it allows you to accept that you need help and that you are prioritizing your mental health, and that you're prioritizing your life, and that you're prioritizing even your loved one's life. Because when we don't prioritize ourselves, we're not able to give the best of us. I hope you like this podcast, and if you do, go to the review section and give a 5-star review. Also share with your friends and families or whoever you think might be interested. I would really appreciate it. And I hope to talk to you soon. Also, I want to remind you that my website is already up, and you can sign for my newsletter where I'm sharing valuable information for you. And by the time that you sign up for my newsletter, you're going to get a free guide on how to have difficult conversations. So go ahead to my website, tumcoeur.com, TUMCOEUR.com, and sign up for my newsletter. I'll be thrilled to have you there, and I'm also thrilled about having a surprise soon. So stay tuned to hear about my new surprise, and thank you again for showing up today.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time.